Super Brad here. Welcome back. Glad you could come back to my channel after after a good while of inactivity. I'm sorry about that, by the way. The only excuse I have is sheer laziness. But I am here with another video, and a fairly different one this time, actually. We're taking a break from Uncharted, just a small detour. I'm here on Tier Maker, and you can probably tell from the title, thumbnail, and the nice bold text across the center of the screen there. I am making a tier list, but not just any tier list, a special tier list to see what main Sonic games I rank the highest. And for those of you who don't know that reference, go play Sonic Riders. But that being said, let me go ahead and get into this. Alright, so I'm making a tier list of all the main Sonic games in the franchise. So here they are right there. There's a list, or at least soon to be list. Now I do want to point out, I do not consider Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 and 2 to be main Sonic games. They're spin-offs in my eyes, at least. I know for some people that may be different, as this person clearly has put them here as options. Nonetheless, however, I will rank them amongst the other ones. Just know that I do not consider them to be main. And if Shadow the Hedgehog fits the category of main Sonic game more than those two do. So yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way. So let's get started here, actually, with the very first Sonic game, Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Alright, and there you have the S through F categories right there. I think you guys are already familiar with how tier lists work, so higher up on the list here, the better it is. At least to the person making the tier list. So it was Sonic 1, I would say, fits a pretty nice... let me see if I can move it. Okay, technical difficulties. Oh my dear God. Okay, there we are. I'd say Sonic 1 fits a pretty nice B rank right there. Oh, not B, excuse me. I meant to say A. There we go. Alright, so Sonic 1, the very first Sonic the Hedgehog game, released in 1991. Fits the A rank right there. I'm not going to get too in-depth with these. I'm probably just going to say the release date of the game or release year, and the reason why I give them the rank. For Sonic 1, it's a pretty good game. It's an excellent start to the series. Although what prevents it from being an S is the fact that it suffers from first game syndrome, or what's commonly referred to as first game syndrome, where there's a lot of experimentation going around. And as a result, the game is, at least compared to others later on in the franchise, don't quite fully grasp the what it means to be a Sonic the Hedgehog thing. Although it comes close, it comes really close. Moving right along, Sonic CD. I'm gonna go ahead and do Sonic CD because in-game universe is considered to come after Sonic 1. Sonic CD, I would put... Let me just look up here real fast. Ooh, you know what? They got me on this one. They got me on this one. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put it up here with A. I'll tie it with Sonic 1. Technically, I do like Sonic CD more than Sonic 1. Technically, but the reason why I put them on the same tier list, oh, by the way, 1993, for those of you wondering when it released, technically I like it more than Sonic 1, but the reason why I rank it in the same tier as Sonic 1 is because it for the most part suffers from mostly the same problems. It comes close to understanding the fundamentals of a Sonic game, but it doesn't quite hit that S part, the S tier rank. That being said, though, it's still a fantastic game, and I suggest you go play it definitely. And it's very similar to Sonic 1 in many aspects as well, except that's Sonic CD is Sonic 1 but with spaz, with some with style. Sonic 1 with style. There we go. Moving right along then. Sonic 2, where is you at? There you are. Sonic 2. This one's a little bit more, this one's tricky too, actually. I would put Sonic 2 at probably S tier, actually. Let me go ahead and put that up there. Oh, Christ. No, not F tier, no. I meant to say S. There we go. Alright, I would put Sonic 2 at S tier. My opinions of Sonic 2 has changed over time. It released in 1992, by the way. My opinions of Sonic 2 have changed over time. I used to find it to be one of my least, not my least favorites, but one of the ones that didn't really appeal to me as much as some other Sonic games did for a while. But over time, like I said, I grew to be more fond of it, especially with the Christian Whitehead port. It's just fantastic. Introduced the Chaos Emeralds, the Death Egg, Tails, and a whole lot of other stuff. And I know Sonic City introduced Metal Sonic and Amy Rose along with Little Planet, but that's beside the point. Sonic 2 also, I feel like it's similar to Sonic 1 in plots, except it took it a step further. While Sonic CD felt more like a detour in terms of plot, Sonic 2 felt like a real genuine continuation. It's essentially the same plot, but now with a Eggman Death Star, essentially, involved in the mix. So it really upped the scale. It had higher stakes. So I feel like that, along with a much better understanding of how Sonic works, and particularly in level design, because how he controls isn't exactly the problem. Mostly when I'm talking about his fundamentals, the classics, I'm usually talking about level design. Sonic 1, it sort of lacked on that end, as well as Sonic CD, especially Sonic CD actually. But Sonic 2 actually was a step in the right direction. And as we'll come to the next game, the level design is really perfected there. Speaking of the next game, though, let's move right along here. Alrighty. So actually, I want to go ahead and put 3 of these games up here. Sonic 3. Come on. I can go a little higher than that. Yeah, I know this is gonna get a little thing. This is gonna get a little difficult here. Alright, so Sonic 3 is up there. Sonic and Knuckles is up there. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I don't know why this person has them as has all 3 of these as separate, but they're all the same very much. So yeah, these 3 games, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I think I'll just go ahead and establish that I'm just going to refer to them as Sonic 3 and Knuckles because that's what they're collectively known as. They're essentially the same game anyway. So this game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, oh boy. It's out of the classics, the mainline classics here, and not counting Mania actually. Now, yeah, even including Mania, I still find Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be the superior classic style Sonic game out there thus far. Everything from its storytelling, its level design, its gameplay, everything about it's just fantastic. It introduces Knuckles, the Master Emerald, Angel Island, and its plot carried from the ending of Sonic 2. It was a humongous step. And you got to think, at the time, right? 1994 was when these came out. You got to think about at the time, right? Storytelling in video games was rather simple, rather basic, even for 1994, I believe. Like deep, heavy storytelling wasn't really standardized at this time quite yet. Although it was right around the corner, I feel like, but at that particular year, it wasn't quite standardized. Sonic 3 really, really pushed that boundary, pushed that limit for what a classic Sonic game could do, and my God, it was freaking fantastic. It honestly deserves to be the best-selling game on the Genesis. Of course, Sonic 2 has that title, but I think that's mostly because it was bundled with it. Although I swear, if Sonic 3 was not split in half during development, it would be bundled with the Genesis, and it would become the best-selling game on the system. But I digress. So now we're moving into the new millennium, essentially. Well, not quite, actually, to be technical, but Sonic Adventure. Oh, okay. So for Sonic Adventure, I would put it at A. Not D. A. There we go. Sonic Adventure is A. So boy, okay, I got a lot of explaining to do. All right, so release date 1998 for Japan, 1999 for North America, and I also assume everywhere else in the world as well. Sonic Adventure is known. If Sonic Adventure were to be known for one thing, it would be this. It was the first true Sonic game to hit the 3D space, and it did it really well, I feel like. And I think even with the argument that the game is aged horribly by today's standards, it still plays fantastically well. I can pop it in the GameCube over there with the DX port. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of the DX port, but all in all, it's still pretty much the same game. I can still play it and have a good time with it. Storytelling was also pumped up here. Advancements in the lore with Chaos and the Echidna tribe was expanded on here. And the introduction of a few new characters. Amy Rose made her first playable debut here, even though she made an actual debut back in Sonic CD, along with Gamma and Big the Cat, who is now only known for being a meme. Poor guy. But yeah, and it also set a standard for Sonic games for its time too. It's the first Sonic game, not necessarily the first one to have a supersonic finale. That honor belongs to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But it's the first Sonic game to have it started the what's known as the Monster of the Week trend, where you have a supernatural monster as the main antagonist rather than Dr. Eggman, as he was known by this point, because Robotnik in the classic games. And I really appreciate Sonic Adventure for what is for the standards that it did establish, and eventually the standards that it was replaced by other standards. We'll get to that later. And obviously, Sonic Adventure led to the 10th anniversary Sonic Adventure 2. I'm putting this one at S tier, actually. And I know, just as with Sonic Adventure 2 is getting pretty much the same slack about how it's aged horribly and how it was overrated, especially about that, overrated. People will say that a lot about Sonic Adventure 2. Okay, so released in 2001 on the 10th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog. This was the final Sonic game to ever be released on Sega hardware. Or at the very least the last main Sonic game. I think there was like at least one spin-off on the Dreamcast before it finally sank into the abyss, which is very unfortunate. But I gotta say, if there was ever a game that made look, all I'm trying to say is this game ended Sonic's career on Sega hardware with a bang, and it's fantastic. So let me get this down here. The only thing that I find, and I know this is delving into the Adventure versus Adventure 2 debate, but the only thing I find that Sonic Adventure 2 did not improve on, that Sonic Adventure established was level design. Other than that, it's an improvement in every way, at least for me. The storytelling was bumped up even further. The plot began to take itself a bit more seriously, which I know is I know is a humongous turnoff for a lot of people. But honestly, I appreciate a game with a good story to it, and that's just me. Although I'm sure a lot of people will share that same viewpoint. Introduced Shadow the Hedgehog, a fan favorite character. Personally, my second favorite character, actually. And out of all the games that Shadow the Hedgehog himself has appeared in, this is the game that got him right. His character, that is. So I like that about him. Space Colony arc, all that stuff, I thought was a great addition to the lore of Sonic the Hedgehog. And you know, this game fits it fits in really well with the others, and I really do appreciate it for that, actually. So yes, Sonic Adventure 2, S tier. Next up is Sonic Heroes, and I'm gonna be straight with you guys. This one, it goes not there. I'm sorry, C tier. And I know I'm gonna anger a lot of people for saying that, because Sonic Heroes is not a bad game. I repeat, Sonic Heroes is not a bad game. I like Sonic Heroes, I really do. The reason why I put it at C tier, though, is because I find it, at least in comparison to the other Sonic games, a rather average Sonic game. It's now don't get me wrong here. There is fun to be had with this game. There is fun and enjoyment to be had from this game. However, the reason why I rank it as low as I do here is because while it is a fun Sonic game to play, it does not capitalize on the success and the standards that the previous Sonic games have established, Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 in particular. It does not do that. And I understand that during the process of making Sonic Heroes, which, by the way, released in 2003 for Japan, 2004 for North America and everywhere else, I do understand that during the development that their intentions for Sonic Heroes was to specifically delve away from the Sonic Adventure standards. And I get that, but here's the thing. You shouldn't have did that. You should not have done that. And I know why they did that too. They wanted to cater to casual fans. But here's the thing. Casual fans were already hooked on Sonic Adventure from the get-go. And I feel like that's something Sega didn't really realize, because Sonic Adventure caters to both casual and hardcore fans. That was, it was a perfect blend there, but Sonic Heroes sort of does away with that. And its gameplay is relatively similar. The only major difference being the team mechanic. And frankly, I'll be honest with you guys, I hate playing through all four levels, four teams, just to get to the final ending. Is very tedious, and the levels are all the same. Come on. Well, level themes are all the same. I understand that level length and enemy placement varies throughout between the teams, but it gets tiring after a while. It honestly does. And I love the soundtrack. I know I haven't mentioned it with the previous ones, because honestly it's just a standard at this point. All of these Sonic games have jamming soundtracks so far on this tier list. I love What I'm Made Of, specifically from Sonic Heroes, the final boss theme. It's just fantastic. I love it. Moving on. So from Sonic Heroes, we go to Sonic the Alright, Sonic 06. Alright, let's not even fool around here. F tier. Okay, so honestly, I think everything that I have to say about Sonic 06 has literally already been said by the community at large. Alright, so released in 2006, hence the name Sonic 06, for the 15th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega decided to release a steaming pile of garbage, and that resulted in Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. And I'm not. I shouldn't probably blame Sega for all of this because I'm sure there were outside forces that contributed to Sonic 06 being as horrible as it is. Um, but conditions aside, the game was bad, and there's no turning back on that, unfortunately. Glitchy. It was a glitchy mess. The gameplay was absolutely not. No, no. The storytelling was awful. From Princess Elise being kidnapped time and time and time again to the time travel that makes no sense to the necro bestiality at the end to put a cherry on top of this garbage sundae. The storytelling was all over the place. I like the idea of Silver the Hedgehog in a post-apocalyptic future. I like that. Princess Elise shouldn't even been a thing, shouldn't even been brought up, shouldn't even been thought of during the writing process of the story of this game. Although, like I said, I like Silver. I thought he was, in terms of storytelling, the best addition that Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic 06 had to offer. But of course, he was executed so poorly here because everyone keeps making basic mistakes that they should not have made. That it was out of character for them to make. And the story was all as a whole mess. The gameplay, it ain't much better. Like I said, it was a glitchy mess. So many bugs. Oh my goodness, so many bugs. Glitches everywhere. This is the last game that used any adventure style kind of gameplay. Um, I I assume probably because at this point, uh, Sega found that they weren't doing so well with the whole adventure thing, even though they would have been if they had done it right with Heroes the first time and actually gave a crap for Sonic 06. So the following games re-innovated the standard gameplay for Sonic the Hedgehog, and we are going to get to that right now. Next up, Sonic Unleashed. I would put this baby at a B rank. I like Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed is fun. I like Sonic Unleashed. Uh, I know I sounded very not smart there, but anyway, Sonic Unleashed released in 2008. Um, the gameplay for the daytime levels in Sonic Unleashed was really good. Um, I understand that Sega needed to reorganize after the disaster that was Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. And Sonic Unleashed, I feel like, did that job relatively well. Relatively because the Werehog still was a thing. Now, the Werehog in concept, I can, in execution, however, uh, well, not so much. Um, they clearly took inspiration from games like God of War and stuff like that. Uh, I know there's a technique for those kind of games. I just can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I promise. Um, but yeah, they clearly took inspiration from games at that time, and thus the Werehog came into being. The story I thought was really well written as well. It's simple for the most part, but it still had a bit of atmosphere where there was tension with Dark Gaia and stuff like that. The Earth being shattered into pieces. Things like that really keeps the eyes glued to the screen and anticipation. And I like that kind of storytelling. I think that's what made Adventure and Adventure 2 stories so captivating, despite several plot holes in those. But, well, you get better over time, usually. Of course, that's not the case with Sonic the Hedgehog sometimes. Uh, I loved the music in Unleashed. Really, the music in Unleashed was really well, going from rock to nice jazz. I think it's rock. Yeah, it's rock technically. It was a good game. I recommend it. However, I will warn you, Sonic Unleashed is the most difficult Sonic game I've ever played in my life. And as if some of you were around for some time, you would know that for a long time, I considered the classic games to be the most difficult ones for me, mostly because I just could not get far in those games as a youngster. But now that I can, and Unleashed, and since playing Unleashed, my God, Sonic Unleashed blows them out of the water in terms of difficulty. So if it's your first time playing the Sonic the Hedgehog, I suggest you save Sonic Unleashed for a later time, but still nonetheless check out Sonic Unleashed whenever you feel comfortable with how Sonic the Hedgehog works. Moving right along to 2010 with Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors I'm going to put up here at A tier. Right there you go. Sonic Colors for the Wii. Sonic Colors did what any good sequel does, and it takes what the predecessor did and did it better. After Sonic Unleashed, Sega found success in the boost gameplay of Sonic the Hedgehog, so they took that and made an entire game based around the daytime levels of Sonic Unleashed. That resulted in Sonic Colors. Of course, that didn't come without its gimmicks. The Wisps were still a thing, which I don't mind for Sonic Colors. We'll get into that later. The Wisps were a pretty nice power-up. And here's the best thing. They weren't overused gimmicks yet. They were simple power-ups that helped you through sections that you could, access if you happen to catch them. And they were not mandatory. And that's what kept them from being overly gimmicky, because you can play through Sonic Colors without using the Wisps, theoretically speaking. The Wisps are there to assist you, and nothing more. Not to get in the way, not to open a mandatory gate or anything like that. No. They are there for you to use if you so desire. And that's what I like about the Wisps. The soundtrack, obviously, was absolutely fantastic. I loved the emphasis on more, I don't want to say techno, but that's the only thing I can think of when it comes to mind. It was definitely a lot more electric sounding. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at that sort of thing, naming music. But if you listen to the sound pieces from, say, Sonic Unleashed or 06 and compare them to Colors, you will notice a change in tone with Colors. Now, Colors, I will also say, brought about the more child-friendly version of Sonic, with the whole slapstick humor and stuff like that. The plot was much less serious than Colors, despite the enslavement of aliens, but, and I don't mind that, I guess. A simple story is better than a poorly written story, and Sonic Colors definitely, shows us that. So yeah, Sonic Colors I think is perfectly fine, really good, actually. Better than Unleashed, better than Heroes, and certainly better than 06. Moving on, Sonic 4 Episode 1... You're going with D's. So, Sonic 4 Episode 1 was also released in 2010 as sort of or supposed to be a continuation of the classic games, although it failed horribly, and I don't like Sonic 4 Episode 1. Mostly because it tries to be something that it very obviously is not. And, yeah, it's just not... Okay, let me get my personal bias there out of the way. Sonic 4 is certainly not the worst of Sonic games. As you can tell, there are worser Sonic games. If Sonic Boom was on here, that would be a whole separate category below 06, but I'll get into that some other time. Sonic 4 is not the worst game there ever was in the Sonic franchise. If you want to give it a shot, be my guest. More power to you. I just personally do not like it. His music is rather mediocre, I'll be honest with you, compared to the other great sound pieces of Sonic history. Even Sonic 06 had better sound pieces than Sonic 4 did. and that's saying something there. So yeah, moving right along. Sonic Generations. Oh my. You know what? Right up to the top with you. Yep, right up there. That's rank. Sonic Generations is probably, actually scratch that. I still think Adventure 2 is better, but Sonic Adventure, Sonic Generations is my second favorite 3D Sonic game of all time. Um, I love Generations. Sega poured their heart and soul into this game for the 20th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, released in 2011. Um, this is actually, no, this is the best. I know it's going to contradict my Adventure 2 being better statement, but Sonic Generations is the best anniversary game the series has ever had. And I know Adventure 2 being at the 10th anniversary, I mean, my ideas are conflicting there. I'm just speaking on which game fulfills the anniversary role better in that terminology. Of course, overall, I still find Adventure 2 to be better, but anniversary game speaking, Generations celebrates the Hedgehog in the best way that any anniversary game has ever done. Even Mania, I think it beats Mania in that category even, because, and I'll get into it more when I get to Mania. Generations was a celebration of the past 20 years of Sonic the Hedgehog from 2011, and oh my God, the gameplay, it is the perfect boost-styled Sonic game. It improved Sonic over Sonic Colors and Sonic Unleashed, like a good sequel does. The storytelling, admittedly, is rather bland, not much going on other than the time meter. I should probably put a spoiler warning over this video, come to think of it. Whoopsie. I'll make sure to put something in during the editing. And the introduction of Classic Sonic as a separate character is pretty nice, although admittedly, just like with the Wisps and Sonic Colors, Classic Sonic should have stayed in Generations and not leaked into any other Sonic games. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Oh, well, hey. That's a very appropriate message from Discord I'm getting there. Alrighty, so yes, I love Sonic Generations. I'll play it on hours on end, actually. Moving on then. I think I've expressed my praise for Generations long enough. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2. Right up there with your brother at D rank. Now, I will say this about Sonic 4 Episode 2. It is better than Episode 1. Slightly. It still suffers from mostly the same flaws as Sonic 4 Episode 1, although those flaws are not quite as exaggerated in Episode 2. It still tries to be something that it's not, and the fact that Sonic 4 is an episodic game and at all is just infuriating, to say the least. Like, why is it like that? But yeah, I mean, all my thoughts of Sonic 4 Episode 1 can technically be copied and pasted over for Sonic 4 Episode 2, and you'd still find valid reasoning behind it. So I'm not going to spend too much time with it. Plus, they're not canon anyway, so why bother? Moving on. Oh, and 2012 for Episode 2. Moving on. Sonic Lost World. I'm going to put this one up here with Heroes at C rank. The reason why? Because it does just what Sonic Heroes did back during its time in the early 2000s. Sonic Lost World tried to deviate from what was successful, and it failed horrendously. So, as you guys know, like I said, Sonic Unleashed, Colors, and Generations, popular, well, Unleashed began the boost formula, the boost gameplay. Sonic Colors made it better, and Generations seemingly perfected it. Sonic Lost World throws all that out the window. Just yeets it out the window and decides to do it this whole parkour kind of gameplay. I mean, I don't want to call it parkour style because that's not. It's a gimmick in Lost World. And guess what? The wisps come back. Woo, woo. Why are they here? um, although I do hear explanations that some of the wisps, like plot-wise, the wisps stay on Earth with Sonic because they like it there or something. I don't know. Anyway, Sonic Lost World gameplay was a downgrade, although at least it wasn't a glitchy mess. So there's that. In terms of storytelling, it's not the worst story to ever be told in Sonic the Hedgehog, but it certainly is not the best story to ever be told in Sonic the Hedgehog. There was certainly a lot of plot holes and unexplained things that just needed to be explained for the story to be enjoyable, and for the story to make sense, more importantly. So, yeah, Sonic Lost World, it's not horrible, it ain't bad either. It's not horrible, but it's not exactly a star student of Sonic games, so it's right there at the middle with C, at the C tier. Moving on. Oh, by the way, Lost World came out in 2013. Sonic Mania. This baby goes over to the S tier. So I can get it to move there. There we go. Okay. Sonic Mania goes to S tier. It is a anniversary game celebrating the 25th anniversary, which was in 2016, but Sonic Mania actually came out in the year following, 2017. Which is perfectly fine. I mean, we've had the experiences of Sonic games being rushed before, so better late than never. Now, Sonic Mania, you can compare it to Generations in a lot of different ways. The main one of which is that it celebrated the anniversary in a very similar fashion that Generations did. Although I would argue that Generations did it better. When you take previous levels and then remaster them, of sorts, Generations did that better. Plus, Sonic Mania was not a celebration of all of Sonic the Hedgehog, but a celebration of 2D Sonic the Hedgehog, classic Sonic the Hedgehog, whereas Generations was a celebration of Sonic the Hedgehog as a whole, classic, modern, and adventure. That being said, Mania is still is really a great game, actually, and it came close, really close to overtaking, dangerously close to overtaking Sonic 3 and Knuckles as the best classic style Sonic game there ever was. And it beat Sonic 2, and by extension, Sonic 1 and Sonic CD. In terms of storytelling, I think it was pretty good. It did a lot of what Sonic 3 did with its storytelling, which was great because the Sonic 3 storytelling was fantastic. The only thing about Sonic Mania, though, I'm not entirely on board with is the fact that is the ratio of reused levels to original levels. And I granted, right, Sonic Generations was all completely reused levels. But with Generations, I felt like I could give it a pass because, number one, that's the first time that the Sonic franchise did something like that. Number two, it was doing it for Sonic the Hedgehog collectively, so it goes back to what I was saying earlier, how Sonic Generations celebrates Sonic the Hedgehog collectively as a whole, whereas Sonic Mania does it with only the classic games, which I feel like is a little bit unfair to the everything else category. But I digress on that. There are new levels, which is great. I just felt like the ratio should have been at the very least 50-50, if not 100% original levels. But hopefully we'll get a sequel or something like that to where it fixes that issue. It's still a fantastic game. It plays much better. It understands how the fundamentals of a 2D Sonic game works, just as Sonic 3 and Knuckles does. So that's really great. Really love that game too. Get it if you're willing to try out some 2D stuff. Definitely recommend it. And for the final entry on this list, the current entry so far, Sonic Forces. You, my friend, are going right up to see. Um, so Sonic Forces was also an anniversary title for the 25th anniversary alongside Sonic Mania. I think what it seems like it was doing for the 20th anniversary, what Sega was doing, was having two separate games to celebrate the two different Sonics, classic and modern, that being. Um, I mean, fine, sure. You can make that work. Um, where here's the thing though, with Mania they succeeded. With Forces, they did not succeed nearly as much. Um, so I should actually, let me go and get this out the way. Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces were both released in 2017. There you go. Although Forces was released like a few months later. But that aside, Forces, the biggest bright spot for Forces I can think of off the top of my head was the customizable avatar feature that they introduced. Sega was brilliant when they put in the avatar as a feature, because what they did was they capitalized on one of the biggest parts of the Sonic fandom and put it into a mainline game. People love that. People love that. I know I loved it. I love the customizable avatar. I think it was an excellent addition to the Sonic franchise. You know what I think wasn't a fantastic entrance into the Sonic franchise? Go ahead and guess. I give you 3 seconds. The return of Classic Sonic. I did not like Classic Sonic and Sonic Forces. I thought that by the time Generations ended, that was it. That was done. We weren't seeing him again unless we went back to Generations or the classic games. I did not expect nor want him to return in any future games, unless it was as some kind of visual or something like really, really basic. Nothing that was major, like a playable character or anything like that. No. In a mainline Sonic game, that is. But he is here in Sonic Forces as one of the main 3 playable characters. Actually, the main 3 playable characters, because you can only play as Modern Sonic, the Avatar, and Classic Sonic. Modern Sonic, or just regular Sonic in general, given, is a Sonic game. He's gonna be in there. The Avatar, fantastic addition. Love it. It's a unique idea. Classic Sonic has no reason to be here. His gameplay isn't even as good as it was in Generations, and it certainly isn't as good as it was in Sonic Mania or the classic games. That being said, he doesn't really matter much in plot either, and I think I went into a little bit of that some time back with Sonic Forces Let's Play. So if you want to go digging, I guess you can find that. I liked Infinite as a concept. Infinite as a concept was fantastic. He would have been up there with one of my most favorite villains in the entire franchise if he was executed properly, which he was not. The writers of Sonic Forces had this was a whole missed opportunity. For Sonic the Hedgehog taking a darker tone since you know, for the longest time we have been, games like Sonic Colors, Generations, and Lost World. These are all very lighthearted games. Sonic Forces finally breaking that trend there, and I was excited to see Sonic the Hedgehog take a turn for the darker side, because it gave me Sonic Adventure vibes, Adventure 2 vibes, because it's all about association here. Okay, good storytelling, or at least deep storytelling, is highly associated with the adventure games, especially Adventure 2. When a Sonic game takes it on a darker tone, more often than not, subconsciously, in the subconscious of a Sonic fan like myself, you're going to associate it with the darker tones of the adventure games, and therefore the deeper storytelling of the adventure games. What we got, however, was not deep storytelling, nor a really darker theme at all, actually. Um, there was talk of hopelessness, there was talk of inevitable defeat and all that stuff like that from people like Infinite and Eggman. Um, and in the end, it didn't mean a gosh darn thing. Phony villains. I mean, Eggman's always been rather comical, uh, probably since its inception. Um, but there were moments where you could, take him a little seriously. So Eggman, I'll give him a pass. Infinite. Infinite's supposed to be the guy here that we're up against for most of the game, and I can't take this man seriously for a second. He's a clown, because that's certainly what the game wants me to treat him as. And the game, oh, the lightheartedness hasn't gone away at all, guys. Now, don't get me wrong here. I don't mind a little bit of lightheartedness, even even in darker toned Sonic games. A little Sonic cracking a joke, or something like that, basic stuff like that, as sort of as a comedic relief. That's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. But what Sonic Forces did was not comedic relief. What Sonic Forces did was paint itself. Was put it no let me use this analogy. What Sonic Forces did was dress itself up as a deep storytelling Sonic game, when underneath that costume was the same lighthearted stuff from, say, Sonic Colors or Lost World. It did not fare well at all. I couldn't take most of the stuff too seriously either. But I think I'm pretty sure I said that already, though. So yeah, Sonic Forces is just at the very least, I would have wanted it to be at B rank up there with Sonic Unleashed, but it just does not reach that. It does not. It doesn't, and I really want it to be up higher, but it isn't. It isn't. It's mediocre. And as a result, it got C tier. Not horrible though. It's still a very functional game. It blows it blows Sonic 4 and Sonic 06 out of the water. That's for sure. So yeah, I mean, if you wanna, it's a boost game too, but it's nowhere near as good as Generations, Colors, or Unleashed for that matter. Definitely the worst of the boost games, but not horrible. Like I said, it's a functional game. So if you want to give it a shot, be my guest. I say it's worth your time for the most part. So yeah, that being said, here we are. We're at the end of the list here, and this is my final verdict right here. So, with that being said, everyone, comment. I want to see what you guys think about this tier list here, actually. I want to see you guys' opinions on this for anyone who actually watches, because nobody wants to spend their time with a rather someone like me. You know what, though? That's beside the point. But yeah, comment down below your opinions on this, and if you guys want to make your own changes to to my tier list, to sort of to match what you believe should belong where, I have Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter, so yeah, hit me up on there. And yeah, see you guys in the next video with more Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Like, share, subscribe, and goodbye.